What happens when you have a classic Pokemon fan game with a new region, awesome Mega Evolutions, new Pokemon forms, and a crazy storyline about Pokemon cults trying to take over the world? You get Pokemon Insurgence. And even though it only has Pokemon up to Generation 7, it's an amazing fan game that we're about to dive right into. But to make things a little more difficult, I added a couple rules. No healing items during battle, set mode only, and since we're playing on hard mode, we already have a level cap in place as well. So if you enjoyed the video, definitely hit that like button. Let's get 20 likes on this, and comment down below if you want to see more Pokemon fan game content and other Pokemon fan games that I should try out. And with that, let's jump right into Pokemon Insurgent. We're introduced to an aerial overview of the Torn region, and then suddenly we're in a deep sleep somewhere locked up. Someone asks about our name and what we look like, and the mysterious voice said they've sent someone to help us. We cut to two Darkrai cultists discussing our situation, a Gengar's tormenting us with nightmares and planning on erasing our memories with Dream Eater. After that, their leader decides to permanently faint us. Everyone leaves for a sacrificial ritual that's about to begin when Mew suddenly appears to save us. Now that we're free, we explore the base and discover that Mew can transform both itself and us with either Pokemon or human DNA. So we found the previous sacrifice remains, and with that I can transform into a Darkrai cultist and blend right in. We observe the ritual and Darkrai suddenly appears, but as soon as it comes, it decides to leave. Upset with that, the leader leaves to check up on us, and I think it'd be time for us to make our daring escape. We make it to Telner Town, where Mew disappears, leaving us with a quartz flute to call upon it whenever we need it. Then we meet Damien, an inspiring Pokemon trainer who's super excited that the Augur is coming to their town. Think of the Augur as like the region's hero essentially. He wants us to help out with the town's decoration, so we decide to help him out a bit. We meet his father and stepmother, who wants us to get a gift for the Augur in the nearby cave. But first, we'll need some Pokemon from the local professor. We walk in to see her discussing something with some mysterious man who leaves 3 Pokeballs on the table and leaves. She introduces herself as Professor Sylvan and the mysterious man as actually the leader of the Perfection cult, and he has left her Delta versions of Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. These Delta Pokemon are Pokemon with different DNA from normal ones and have different typings and abilities. She offers one of the 3 Delta Pokemon or a regular Eevee that she gives out to everyone. So, naturally, I choose the Eevee. And so does our now rival Damien, who immediately challenges us to a battle. Our Eevee makes quick work of his though. We head out to the local cave and I catch a Diglett and a Nidoran male. However, our visit was cut short because we overhear 2 cultists discussing an attack on the Augur during his visit. We rush back to town to warn Jaren, the second Augur, and the 2 cultists reveal themselves and attack. I take on the Abyssal cultist, and Nidoran leers Squirrel's defenses down before getting knocked out by Water Gun, giving Eevee a chance to come in and tackle it out. Then does the same to his Horsey, defeating both cultists. With the cultists defeated, Jaren invites us to visit him in Helios City, and both Damien and I accept. Damien agrees and tells us to go to Midna Town to train some more at the trainer school. When we get there, the trainer school is actually hosting its annual tournament, but is missing their top student Nora, so we search the local Midna mines and find her at the deepest part where she actually owns a Celebi, which is pretty cool. Mew reveals itself, and Nora tells us about an ancient prophecy where someone chosen by a legendary Pokemon will come out and defeat all the cults in Torren. Many people thought it was the first Augur who came with the partner Hoopa and took out nearly half the cults, but suddenly, just like the Avatar, disappeared. She advises we keep quiet about our legendaries not to get targeted by any cultists and heads back to the trainer school for the tournament. We explore the town and get ourselves a Ghastly, Zubat, and a Elekid, and this is where things get really rough. Our first opponent is Ninja Boy Kyle, who I easily beat. And now I face Damien. He starts with the Corphish that our Elekid comes and shocks waves to a crisp. Then his Eevee comes and destroys not only Elekid, but the whole team with secret power. With that in mind, in round 2 we beat both Eevee and Corphish just for Luxio to come in with Iron Tail and Ice Fang and beat the rest of the team.
3 hours later.
Once again, we face Damien and his stupid Corphish, who actually beats Elekid with a waterfall, so Eevee comes in to finish it off with a quick attack. Luxio comes in to beat Eevee with Spark, but Ghastly comes, tanks the Spark, and lands 2 Nightshades, beating Luxio. His final Pokemon is his own Eevee that Ghastly lays a curse on. With the power of Curse and Wing Attack, we finally beat Damien. And now our final challenger is Nora. And if we lose this, we will have to start all over fighting Damien again. And I might lose my mind if that happens. So she starts off with a Sewaddle that Zubat takes out with a Wing Attack. She throws out Trapinch and I switch into Drillbur, but it gets taken out by a couple bites. Nidorino comes out, tanking Bulldoze so that I can double kick the Trapinch out, and then her final Pokemon is a Honedge that Shadow Sneaks Nidorino and Ghastly, but Elekid comes in, paralyzes it with its static ability, and beats it in a flurry of shockwaves, winning us the TM return, which costed me a lot of sanity. Our next destination is Sun Touch City, where the first gym is. We do some prepping up for the gym and meet gym leader Orion, who's best friends with the Rock. That's not weird at all. Now it's time for our first gym battle. He starts with Drought Vulpix that uses Flamethrower on Drillbur. Luckily, we live with no burn, and Drillbur's able to use Dig to beat Vulpix. Deerling comes out, who faces our Crobat and a barrage of wing attacks until it faints. Then Delta Aeron comes out, and it's a fire and steel type. I use Bite to pop its air balloon, but it uses Flame Wheel to feint out Crobat. With Aeron now on the ground, Drillbur comes out and uses Dig to completely destroy it. Ivysaur comes out, beating both Drillbur and our Machop, but gets sliced up by Swoobat's Air Cutter. His final Pokemon is Charmeleon with Solar Power, however it too falls to Swoobat's Air Cutter, giving us our first gym badge, and we get the TM Flame Charge as a reward. As we walk out the gym, a worried young lady and Nor pass us to enter, so we check it out. We discover that cultists are planning to attack Orion, and they suddenly appear on Kyurem. A mysterious man introduces himself as Taiyan of the Perfection Cult and wants Orion's rock best friend, who actually is Reshiram, and leaves with the Perfection Cult chasing after it. The young lady introduces herself as another gym leader and her name's Harmony, and suddenly Reshiram returns since it didn't want to leave Orion all alone. We promise not to tell anyone about Orion's new buddy, and Nora gives us an instant Lapras, which helps us surf across bodies of water. So it's a replacement of surf. We head out and arrive at Mechi Town, where we run into Nora once again, who wants to battle but plans on using Celebi too, which is totally fair because, you know, she can use her legendary but I can't. She starts with Honedge against Drillbur, and because Honedge had no guard, it bypasses our semi-invulnerable turn with Dig and eventually feints out Drillbur. Eevee comes out to bite Honedge's blade in half, and then uses Takedown to take out her Trapinch. Celebi comes out and takes out both Eevee and Swoobat with Confusion and Ancient Power, but they did just enough damage for Crobat to come in with a wing attack, ending Celebi, and Crobat just becomes a terror for the rest of Nora's team, winning us the battle. Nora explains that she told Damien about Mew and Celebi, but not the part that it's a super big secret and that we should really keep quiet about. So she tasks us with fully explaining that part to him, and we surf off to our next location, Vipik City, where the next gym is located. On the way, I prep up my team for the gym and a Delta Rolts, which is an electric and ice type and will be really useful throughout our adventure. Once we get in, we find Damien, who accidentally mentions about Mew and Celebi right behind a cultist that may or may not have overheard it. But he leaves and Damien wishes us luck with our gym battle. We meet gym leader Xavier and jump straight into our second gym battle. He sends out Delta Metang, which is a bug and ground type, against our Delta Gardevoir, so we easily blast it with an ice beam, taking it right out. Next is his Heracross that has to face our Swanna, who slices it up with 2 air slashes. Then comes Gengar and knocks out Swanna with a Will-O-Wisp Hex combo. Regular Gardevoir comes out and we Psychic the Gengar out of here, and then his little Beedrill comes out.
But wait! There's more!
To Mega Evolve into Mega Beedrill and instantly destroys Gardevoir with a Poison Jab. Mega Beedrill is super fast, super strong, and could probably beat the whole team, but we have a plan for it. Bulldor steps in, tanking in its attack, shreds right through its paper defenses with Stab Rock Slide. With the major threat out of the way, Delta Gardevoir was able to come in and freeze the rest of his team, giving us our second gym badge. We leave the gym and a hiker gives us a note that the Abyssal Cult has taken Damien hostage and we have to meet him at the Vipic dump, and he's surrounded by toxic waste. The cultists demand Mew show itself or they'll throw him into the waste. Mew appears and brings in a friend, Shaman, who purifies the toxic waters with Seed Flare, and not prepared to face 2 legendaries, the cultists decide to retreat. Shaman decides to travel with Damien and we get some of Shaman's DNA, so now Mew can transform into Shaman and use Seed Flare. We head off to Helios City and go through the Rezai Desert. However, in the nearby cave we find the Sky Cult harassing a hiker for a mysterious scroll that can summon Rayquaza. After some threatening, he gives them the scroll and they plan on using the Augur's energy to summon Rayquaza by blackmailing him. We give chase, but Damien stops us for another rival battle. He starts with an Infernape that quickly falls to Crobat's acrobatics. Luxray comes out, so I counter it with Flygon, but we also get countered by Luxray's Ice Fang that one-shots poor Flygon. So Crobat has to come in and land a return to finish off Luxray. Metang's next and I switch into Superior that gets absolutely thrashed by Meteor Mash. Typhlosion comes out and melts Metang with Flamethrower. Delta Gardevoir shocks Crawdunk with a Thunderbolt. Typhlosion burns his Eevee to a crisp, and finally Crobat uses acrobatics on Shaman, beating his team, so now we can inform him about the Sky Cult and their plans. We both dash towards Helios City and find out that the Jade Tower where the Augur is has been taken over by the Sky Cult, and we have to find another way through the sewers. Before we descend down, we actually find a nice old lady that teaches Eevee some extra moves like Hydro Pump and Thunderbolt, so we teach it some of those and head down. We get through the sewers in the black market and run into Taion and Rukra in the Perfection Cult base that leads up to the Jade Tower. Rukra allows us to pass only if we battle against Taion and his Mega Pokemon so that they can collect some data. We agree and he starts with a Machamp who's easily taken out by acrobatics. Then his Stunfisk comes out and Mega Evolves and makes quick work of Crobat. Superior comes in, but it knew Sludge Bomb, taking Superior out, so Delta Gardevoir had to cool it off with an Ice Beam. Then his Pyroar comes in and proceeds to beat the rest of my team. Yay. So in round 2, we beat Pyroar and Grumpig took the place of beating the rest of the team. Then in round 3, the same thing happens, but with Kyurem. After some prayers to Arceus, we start the battle off knocking out Machamp with Crobat, and then Flygon faces and beats his Mega Stunfisk. Kyurem freezes off Flygon with Ice Beam, but Typhlosion blazes in and defeats Kyurem with a Flamethrower. Lapras drowns Pyroar and Crobat finishes off Grumpig with acrobatics, finally winning us that annoying battle. The cultists let us pass, and as a reward, we get Mega Rings, and also find a Mega Stone for Eevee, so now we can Mega Evolve our Eevee. We get into the Jade Tower, beat up some Sky cultists on the way, and meet Jaren and the gym leader of Helios City East, and inform them about the Sky cultist plan. However, Jaren reveals he's the leader of the Sky Cult, captures us and plans on using us as a sacrifice to summon Rayquaza. But in the spirit of fairness, he gives us a fighting chance against the gym leader East. With the soul on our line, we most definitely lost the first round. But in round 2, he sends out Skymarie that gets liquefied by Typhlosion's flamethrower, and then Mega Eevee comes in to face Kingdra. Mega Eevee's ability Protean Maxima allows Eevee to transform into other evolutions based on which attack I choose. So we Moonblast Kingdra, Ice Beam Noivern, and Flygon buries Talonflame with the Rock Slide. His ace, Mega Altaria, comes out, but it's no match for Crobat's Cross Poison, and his final Pokemon, Gliscor, quite literally couldn't do a thing to Crobat, winning us our 3rd gym battle, and East loses his soul. But better him than me though. We chase Jaren to the top of the Jade Tower where he summons Rayquaza. He then uses the Augur's Crystal to power up Rayquaza even more. Not only are we facing Rayquaza, but we're also facing it in its Mega form. Why do I have to fight a freaking Mega Rayquaza? I just got my 3rd gym badge. Luckily, it loves spamming V-Create, lowering its own defenses, giving Mega Eevee an opportunity in Umbreon form to tank a V-Create and follow up with a foul play, beating it. Jaren tells Rayquaza to recharge with the crystal's power, but Damien stops it with the Icy Wind and destroys the crystal with Seed Flare, scattering it into pieces around the region. Jaren leaves on Rayquaza to find them, and Damien gives us our 3rd gym badge and tells us to meet him at the Utura Library so that we can possibly learn more about the ancient prophecy. We cut to Jaren finding one piece of the crystal, but the other pieces have been found by the Perfection and the Abyssal Cult. I meet Nora and Damien at the Utura Town Library, and they ask me to choose which one of them I would fight in a rival battle. I choose Nora since we just battled Damien last. She starts with an Aegislash that regrets being a Steel type because it faces the flames of my Typhlosion, and then Celebi regrets being Grass type for the same reason. Flygon comes out and Mega Evolves, becoming a Bug and Dragon type, tanking Flamethrower and beating Typhlosion with the Dracon voice. Crobat lands at Acrobatics, beating Flygon, then Delta Gardevoir and Superior finish off the rest of her team. Damien also gives us a hair from the Abyssal Cultist, and now we can transform into one. We explore the library with the help of the librarian Zachary, where deep in the abandoned wing we encounter the Guardian of the Prophecy, but to get past him, we must battle him. And we beat him pretty quick. And by that, I mean we barely beat him. The final showdown was our burnt Crobat versus his Mega Bayonetti. Luckily, because of some huge misplay, Bayonetti did not go for Sucker Punch, where we were in fainting range and hit him with the Acrobatics, and he hits himself with Confusion, winning us the battle. Thank you, RNG. The Ancient Prophet informs us that a hero will appear, chosen by a legendary Pokemon to defeat all the cults, but in the end will join the Infernal Cult and betray all their friends. So that kinda sucks. Nora freaks out about the new information, and despite Damien trying to calm her down, she insults him instead, hurting his feelings, and then he tells us that the next gym is in Santa City, where he'll meet us there. She instantly regrets it and races after Damien. We head out to Sonata City, but a Snorlax is in the way and we can't get past him. Speaking of Snorlax, we found a Delta Munchlax, which is just a grass type Snorlax, and added to our team. We detoured towards Mayara town and find an Abyssal Cultist lurking around. We search for her in the local museum where the blue orb is in display, and then the cultist appears. We suspected that she wanted to come to take the blue orb, but actually she steals the tidal bell under the blue orb, which was fake, and reveals that she is the leader of the Abyssal Cult. She invites us to try and stop her at the nearby Whirl Islands, and we gladly accept her invitation. On the way, we fight some pirates and their leader, who is actually a Delta Axew, which is an Axew but a water and steel type, and catch it, adding it to the team, and also wondering how it gave orders to a bunch of pirates. We get to the deepest parts of the world islands where we find the leader summoning Lugia, who gladly accepts the invitation to join her. And now we must face abyssal cultist leader Audrey and her Lugia. She starts with a lantern, but Superior quickly dispatches it with a leaf blade, and then a Delta Superior, which is a water dragon type, also gets knocked out. And then her Ludicolo faces Crobat's acrobatic wrath. She brings in Mega Crawdonk, which would have been a problem if it had attacked the acrobatic Crobat that was dealing so much damage to it. Her final Pokemon Lugia rises and falls to Mega Eevee's Thunderbolt, and her Swampert wasn't gonna do much to the team. Once we return to Mayara Town, the Museum Guard rewards our efforts with a Pokeflute so that we can move that Snorlax and enter Sonata Town. And while exploring the town, we actually find a Delta Litwick, which is a fire and fairy type, and add it to the team. Now we face Harmony for our 4th gym badge. She starts off with the Delta Crustle, which is a fairy and normal type that takes out Crobat with frustration. But luckily Delta Haxorus comes in with a Swords Dance and starts running through her team with Bullet Punch, since mostly they're fairy types. It's like we're inventing. Wait, why does that milk tank look familiar? Oh no. Oh no!
5 minutes later.
After several rounds of pain, sadness, and Whitney milk tank trauma, Haxorus was able to set up a Swords Dance on Harmony's Togekiss, Bullet Punch it to death, and crit Aquatail that monster back to Poke-Hell, winning us our 4th gym badge. Oh my goodness, I hope we don't have to go through anything like this ever again. Hey, Future Star here. Spoiler alert, we go through much worse. So go ahead, like the video, and keep watching. Nora rushes in saying that the local hospital lost power for some reason. We go check it out to discover the Perfection Cult is at fault. Rukra agrees to return the power only if they get to see a patient called Mald, who's actually the gym leader's father, to help him. Harmony agrees and we head to Mald's room, where Rukra wants to inject him with Pokevirus to heal him from his current illness, since Mald's DNA is slightly changed because of Deoxys in the past in the Hoenn region. Harmony reluctantly agrees in hopes of curing him, and Damien steps out since, like Goku, he doesn't like needles. She injects him and everything seems fine.
A few moments later.
Until he becomes a Deoxys human monster. Now we have to be real quiet and careful. The slightest noise may...
Hey yo, what the fuck?
And now we lost Damien. Great. However, Rukra notes that this is a job well done, since technically her father's cured and possibly immortal, and heads out for an appointment with a certain gym leader. Harmony promises to find out a way to help both her father and Damien, but tells us to go to Kepler City, since it's possible Rukra was referring to the Kepler gym leader Anastasia. So she and Nor start researching for a solution, and we head to Kepler City. When we get there, we warn Anastasia about the potential visitors she'll be having, and she appreciates that warning. When we head back out to start our gym battle, we notice it's really raining, like a lot, and that's where Audrey comes in riding a Lugia. She's using Lugia's power to make a bunch of storms to flood the world. She heads out, and Anastasia requests that we go and stop her, since she'll be busy trying to help the citizens from the flood. She gives us some scuba gear so that we can sneak into the Abyssal Cult's base, which is in the deepest part of Maelstrom 9. We dive down, disguise ourselves as Abyssal Cultists, scientists, and even Audrey herself, until we finally face the leader of the Abyssal Cult once more, and her OP Primal Kyogre that beats me several times over. But this time, we lead off with Delta Snorlax that belly drums its attack to max levels and proceeds to run through her Lantern, Ludicolo, then it faints from Alakazam's Psy Shot. But not only that, it was also able to outspeed and beat both Crobat and Mega Eevee. Delta Haxorus outspeeds it with the Aqua Jet just to be destroyed by her Mega Crawdonk superpower attack. Superior comes in and slices that crawfish with Leaf Blade and surprisingly tanks through Primal Kyogre's attacks, healing itself with Giga Drain. And then finally it shows who the true Superior is, defeating her once and for all. Suddenly Mald appears with a mutated Damien and reveals that Audrey's actually Damien's real mother. They take the crystal piece from her, causing her to lose control over Kyogre, and it understandably begins attacking her and sends her to the depths of the ocean. After we left, a mysterious person comments on how one of the cults has fallen and that their mistress will be pleased. With that aquatic threat out of the way, we face Gym Leader Anastasia for our 5th gym badge. She starts with a Clef Key against our Delta Gardevoir, and with the power of Swagger, Foul Play, and me just being unlucky, was able to beat Delta Gardevoir. So Delta's Chandelure comes in and incinerates Clef Key with the Lava Plume. Her Mega Metagross appears and blows out Chandelure's lights with a Meteor Mash. So we had to bring out our own Mega Pokemon, Eevee, and land a Foul Play on Metagross, forcing her to switch into Electivire that also falls to a Foul Play. But her Magnezone's Flash Cannon was able to knock out Mega Eevee. Typhlosion steps in, melting both Magnezone and Metagross with Flamethrower. Her Rotom Wash comes out, and I bring in Delta Snorlax to handle it with a Max Attack Wood Hammer. Aegislash sneaks in to take out Delta Snorlax and actually had Weak Policy, boosting both its attack and special attack when we landed an Earthquake with Flygon and proceeds to fate Flygon with Flash Cannon. Typhlosion steps in once more, and for some reason Aegislash did not want a Shadow Sneak to win, so Typhlosion punishes it by melting it into a liquid ooze with Flamethrower, winning us our 5th gym badge. She congratulates us and invites us to visit her workshop sometime, but when we leave we see Taiyan enter the workshop and follow right behind him, where we discover she actually made Pokemon armor for Zekrom, and unsurprisingly he already caught Zekrom. Orion comes in because Reshiram asked him to, and Taiyan challenges both Orion and Reshiram to a battle, winner takes all style, and because of the obvious armor buff Zekrom just got, Reshiram loses and he takes Reshiram, and now he turns his eyes at me for a battle. He starts with Grumpig against our Delta Snorlax, and we launch a powerful Wood Hammer, smacking the little piggy out. Unfortunately for Pyroar, we were able to take the heat thanks to Delta Snorlax's Thick Fat ability and Earthquake that little kitty out along with Mega Charizard and his Luxray. Understandably upset, he throws out Zekrom to beat Delta Snorlax with an Outrage, but we stop it with Mega Eevee's Moonblast, and then finish it off with the Foul Play, and his final Pokemon Kyurem falls to Delta Chandelure's Moonblast. He declares if Orion wants Reshiram back, he would have to go to the Dragon Ruins near Selene City. He runs off and Orion chases right behind him. Anastasia apologized for the incident since she didn't know that she was making armor for a cultist, and decides to sell us some Pokemon armor for our troubles. We buy some Flygon armor and head out. Before reaching Selene City, we stop at Hecate Town, where the Infernal Cult is invading the nearby fiery caverns. Nora joins us, and we find out that Zachary, the librarian back in Utira Town, was actually the leader of the Infernal Cult, and that his real name is Zenith. We battle him, and like an out-of-control flame, we extinguish his team, especially his Mega Macargo that shell smashes just to be obliterated by Delta Snorlax's Earthquake. That wasn't smart, now was it? However, this defeat doesn't shake Zenith, since the prophecy states that one of us will join his cult, and that they've captured Groudon long ago since they were the first cult to arise. Zenith simply wakes up Groudon and invites us to the mountains if we still want to fight. Nora goes back to the library to do more research, and right outside of Selene City, Persephone, the leader of the Darkrai cult, plans on visiting her sister to understand why Darkrai continues to follow her around instead of Persephone herself. We follow her throughout the town and find her and her sister Diana talking, but she notices faces us and challenges us to a battle, despite not having her full team ready. She leads off with a Mega Gengar, which was actually a Mega Zoroark, but either way it falls to Flygon's Dragon Claw. Her Greninja falls to Delta Haxorus' Bullet Punch, Spiritomb to Delta Gardevoir's Thunderbolt, and Mega Eevee comes in and finishes up the rest of the team with Foul Play and Moonblast. Feeling upset, she marks her revenge on her sister and promises to catch both us and Darkrai. Diana asks us to forgive her sister and all her awful actions, and offers to battle us for our next gym badge since she is the 6th gym leader. We take her up on that offer, go to her gym, and face off. She sends out Delta Milotic that actually tanks our Swords Dance boosted Aquatel, beating Haxorus with the Shadow Ball. I send out Delta Chandelure, and after some Moonblast we were able to take care of that Milotic. Her next Pokemon is a Gardevoir that Calm Minds up, beating both Delta Chandelure and our Delta Snorlax. Luckily, Delta Snorlax did enough damage that Gardevoir's Life Orb took it out as well. Her Gengar comes in freezing Flygon with an Icy Wind and shattering Delta Gardevoir with a Focus Blast. And at this point, I've given up. But Mega Eevee wasn't about to let that happen. Eevee comes in and tanks a Focus Blast in Jolteon form, knocking Gengar out with Thunderbolt. Next is her Mega Gothitelle that's a Dark and Psychic type, but it had to run away because of Moonblast. So her Cresselia comes in, but it's powerless against Eevee's Umbreon form, forcing her to make a bad switch into her Chandelure as we were firing off a Hydro Pump, instantly knocking it out. Mega Gothitelle comes back simply to face the moon's power once more, and Cresselia was unable to do anything to our Umbreon form except poison us, but we turned the poison against it with our Synchronize ability. With the power of a little foul play and poison, Mega Eevee knocks out Cresselia, winning us our 6th Like I was saying, Mega Eevee pulled out an awesome win for us, getting us our 6th gym badge. With our gym battle out of the way, we go into the Dragon Ruins to save Reshiram with the help of Nora. We find Taion trying to fuse the 3 dragons into the Dragon of Origin, but he doesn't know the name of that dragon. Therefore, he can't fuse them. Upset, he fuses Kyurem with Reshiram and armors up Zekrom to battle us in a double battle with Nora. And thank goodness I have some backup here. I mean, I've been doing everything myself. I am carrying Team Insurgence here. He starts with a Metagross and a Salamence against Delta Chandelure and Levan. Levan is able to back us up with the Reflect as it tanks Salamance's Fire Blast thanks to a Focus Sash. With Delta Chandelure coming in, Moon blasting Salamence out, falling to a crit Meteor Mash from Metagross. He brings in a Mega Typhlosion that knocks out Levani, but our Delta Haxorus comes in with Aqua Jets to end its flames, while Nora's Darmanitan melts Metagross with a Flare Blitz. Zekrom and Luxray come out with Zekrom fusion bolting our Haxorus, frying it, and Darmanitan Flare Blitzing Luxray out. Our Flygon comes out and we double up on Kyurem White, but it knocks out Darmanitan with the Fusion Flare. Nora brings in her Mega Flygon, and my Flygon comes in to take out Kyurem White with a Drago Jet. However, Nora's Mega Flygon faces Drago Meteor from Zekrom. Luckily, our Flygon got revenge for its fallen brother, taking out Zekrom with a bunch of Drago Jets, defeating Taion. And with that, he loses control of both Zekrom and Reshiram. He escapes on his Kyurem, Orion comes in to get his Reshiram back, and Nora gives us Celebi DNA, allowing us to temporarily move through time. And now it's time to head to the next town. Meanwhile, Jayan's search for the crystal pieces leads him to a mysterious group of people who may have a hand behind the scenes of all the events that are occurring. We pass through Arano's town where we discover Zenith giving everyone vaccinations due to Maldi's virus that's spreading. We go check things out and discover that Zenith can mind control people that took his vaccine. He stalls us with a random battle against an old lady as he escapes. After defeating her, we give chase, leading us to Amphitrite City, where we meet Nora and the city's gym leader, Calry, who's also been chosen by a legendary Pokemon, Manaphy. He tells us to go to the nearby crystal caverns to meet an old friend. Once we get to the deepest part of the caverns, we meet an old man who tells us how he and his group are the protectors of the Crystal of Arceus, until the first augur requested to use it to battle against the cultists in Tauren, and that getting those crystal pieces back should be our first priority. We then battle and capture Mew, adding this versatile and powerful member to our team. Before leaving, as a sign of trust, the old man shows his Victini, showing that he is also a chosen trainer as well. Now it's time to face Calry for our 7th gym badge. We start with Delta Snorlax belly drumming up and washing his team, beating Heliolisk, Delta Dragonite, which is essentially a water and electric type, and heavily damaging normal Dragonite, which knocks Snorlax out with a hurricane. Unfortunately for him, I noticed that his gym is constantly in a rainy weather status, so I take advantage of this by teaching Delta Gardevoir Thunder, and since it won't miss, we proceed to fry and electrify the rest of his team, giving us our 7th gym badge. Suddenly, the Mega TV in the city activates and Zenith commands all his mind slaves to attack Calreath, his friends, us, and his girlfriend, the 6th gym leader Diana. Calreath runs out to save Diana while Nora joins us to travel to the mountains to stop Zenith. Nora informs us that there's a checkpoint we can't pass. Tayan comes around offering his help. He found us by tracking our Mega Ring that they gave us. He offers to help and we follow him back to the Perfection Cult base, and they demand a simple sample of Mew's DNA, where they rip off Team Rocket and create Mewtwo. Then we're challenged to a battle by easily C-Bomb Poliwrath out of the way, and Gallade faces the power of the moon from Delta Chandelure, but his Delta Darmanitan earthquakes Chandelure out. Mega Eevee comes in to tank another earthquake and land a foul play, casting Delta Darmanitan away. He comes in with a Mega Zip Striker. We tank Dazzling Gleam by becoming a Sylveon, and then absorb all his electric attacks by becoming Jolteon and using its Volt Absorb ability. They finally send out Mewtwo, and as much as I would like to do a Mewtwo versus Mew battle, I simply turn into Umbreon, which forces him to switch into Kyurem. Unfortunately for him, he switches his Kyurem into a Moonblast, critting it and fainting it, and Umbreon finishes off Mewtwo with a foul play. Rukra reveals that they lost their crystal piece because of a double spy scientist, and that Zenith is scared of Mal since his virus can make people resistant towards his mind control. Rukra reveals that he can also track Mal's location, and in exchange for some small favors, he agrees not to give their location out. He contacts Mal, who assists us with getting up Mount Rose. Meanwhile, back at Diana's gym, Calrith comes to get Diana, who's followed by Darkrai, who's double followed by Persephone. We all meet up outside the Infernal Cult's base and go in 2 at a time. First is Nora and Calreath, then us and Diana. However, when we go in, Persephone interrupts and reveals that she and Diana were both captured by the Infernal Cult in the past, and the Cresselia that Diana has was supposed to be used to rescue them both. However, only Diana was rescued, and Persephone was stuck there for 3 more years before she could escape. However, with all her yelling, we get caught by Zenith and the Infernal Cultists, and then caged up. But before Zenith attempts to mind control us, Calreath and Nora break out, distracting Zenith. While he's gone, we annoy the guard, battle him to submission, and take his DNA to lurk within the base. We get to Zenith before he makes another mind control command, then Manaphy suddenly appears. It swaps Calreath with one of the Infernal Cultists, and he challenges Zenith to a battle, but Zenith was a little tricky and had a trapdoor ready, sending him to the depths of the mountain. So we take his place and battle the leader of the Infernal Cult, once more. Our Flygon comes in and wrecks more than half of his team with Earthquake before falling to Mega Blaziken's high jump kit. Since it was super low, our Delta Haxorus comes in with the Aqua Jet to cool it off. And then Primal Groudon rises, and I totally forget that water attacks do not work on this Pokemon. With the effort of Delta Snorlax's Earthquake and Delta Chandeler's Earth Power, Groudon falls. Shocked from his defeat, Zenith falls over and another grunt appears to reveal his true identity. The ancient oracle from the Utura library, who's actually not an oracle, just a con man, working for someone else, and gave Zenith a false prophecy so that he would let his guard down. He reveals that the person who hired him also gave Zenith his mind control powers, which gave birth to all the other cults of the region. He advises us to get some of Zenith's DNA and disband the Infernal Cult and free the mind controlled people while we still have the broadcasting equipment. And with that done, Manaphy gives us its DNA so that Mew can transform into it. Then, I guess it leaves to look for Calreath, who might be somewhere in the mountain. We meet up with Nora and Persephone when suddenly Groudon starts returning to lava, changing the shape and structure of the mountain, and now we need to escape. But first we go to Diana's cage where Persephone explains that Darkrai was after her because of her Cresselia, stealing it and the rest of her Pokemon and leaving her for dead. But we wouldn't allow that, and with the power of Heart Swap, we get her out of her cage and escape. But Calreath never made it out, so yeah. He's gone. But we shake that off and head to Nara Town where we bump into another mysterious cultist that their group will be making their move very soon. Then we run into Mald, who says he's off to the Shade Forest for a very exciting event that's gonna happen in the Darkrai's cult's base. We run over there to find Persephone using Cresselia as a hostage to control Darkrai. Mal and Damien appear to try and stop her, and she commands Darkrai to send them all into my dream realm. But Darkrai sends everybody, including the Darkrai cultists and Persephone, into the dream realm, trusting us to defeat her and handle the situation. We find Persephone once again and challenge her to one last battle. She starts off with a Mega Spiritomb that faints both Delta Chandeler and Delta Haxorus. Luckily, our Mega Eevee steps up and uses a foul play to defeat it. Then with some quick form switches, we beat her Alakazam and leave some good damage on her Metagross, so that Flygon can come in and beat both Metagross and Houndoom with Earthquake, just for it to fall to Gengar's Shadow Ball. Delta Snorlax decides to finish things up with a Seed Bomb on Gengar and Drain Punches on Hydreigon, winning us the battle. Persephone runs off to find an exit and we continue exploring our dream realm. Until we suddenly run into Mald and Damien. Mald theorizes if they can get rid of me, then they'll be out of the dream realm and they get our crystal piece as well, so he forces Damien to battle us. Damien starts with the Deoxys attack against Mew. Mew was able to survive a Psycho Boost from Deoxys, and with the Super Fang Brine combo, Deoxys falls. He sends out Skyform Shaman and we land a Super Fang, but instead of attacking,
What the fuck?
Shaman defeats Mew with an Air Slash and uses Earth Power to defeat our Delta Chandeler. Mega Eevee was able to survive an Energy Ball and shocks down Shaman with Thunderbolt. Deoxys returns, and despite surviving an Ice Beam and landing a crit foul play, Deoxys' attack had a Focus Sash, letting it live, which would be bad if I didn't switch into Delta Haxorus, and we use the power of priority. He sends out his own Mega Eevee to try and shock our Delta Haxorus, but I wasn't having it. I switched out into Flygon. It tanks both that and the Moonblast that comes after and returns with an Earthquake, beating his Mega Eevee. Finally, we send our Mega Eevee back out to deal with his Metagross and our Delta Haxorus to beat his Delta Luxray. Mal decides that they'll try and help the people here stuck in the dream realm and prepares to leave, but in a moment of resistance, Damien gives us their crystal piece, then leaves with Mal. As we're traveling throughout the dream world, all the local town folks tell us that we need to go to the local gym to meet someone very important. We do just that, and we meet a man who reveals that he was the first augur and how he met the protectors of Arceus's crystal known as the Timeless. He convinced them to lend it to him so that he can defeat the cults in Torin, but got overconfident with it, which allowed Jaren and Persephone to trick him with Darkrai's power and trap him in his son's dream realm, meaning that he's our father. Before they disposed of both of us via Gengar's Dream Eater from the beginning of the game, his partner Hoopa reached out to Mew, who saved us. Now he tasks us with returning the crystal pieces to the Timeless, defeating the rest of the cultists, and stop the mysterious Giratina group who's been pulling the strings this whole time. But first, we have to get our final gym badge. We meet him in the back of the gym and face off against the final gym leader, Adam. He starts off with a Spiritomb with the Noctum ability, darkening the area, boosting ghost and dark moves while lowering fairy moves, but means nothing to our swords dancing Haxorus that's taken out by Calm Mind boosted Dark Pulse. Our Delta Chandelure comes out, and despite the darkness still being in effect, absolutely Moonblast through his Spiritomb, forcing it to switch out into Greninja, who also faces the power of the moon, along with Tyranitar, until we fall to a sludge wave from his Delta Roserade. Delta Gardevoir comes out to shock Delta Roserade into submission with Thunderbolt, and then absolutely destroy Bisharp with Focus Blast. His Mega Hydreigon comes in and beats Delta Gardevoir with Flash Cannon, forcing Delta Snorlax to come in with a fury of Drain Punches. However, thanks to Mega Hydreigon's ability, Lernean, every hit we land will cause it to grow a head, which then splits the power of its damaging moves across each head, allowing it to hit multiple times. However, despite this head-growing nonsense, Snorlax was still able to tank the hits and come out as the winner. And then his Spiritomb comes in to get slapped around, winning us our final gym badge. With that, our father gives us Hoopa's DNA so that we can escape this place using Hyperspace Hulk. We return to the real world, and Nora calls us and tells us that Jaren is fighting a Giratina cultist at Amphitrite City. When we arrive, Jaren loses both the battle and his crystal piece. Then the Giratina cultist reveals that Jaren's actually the leader of the Sky Cult. Before the Giratina cultist leaves, he says that they have Nora and that we have to meet him deep within the Crystal Cavern. With Jaren's secret revealed, the people of Turin lost faith in him and he runs away. We enter back into the Crystal Cavern, but Jaren stops us, and since he has nothing to lose, vows to take his revenge on us and challenges us to one more battle. And quick reminder, he still has this monster, so the first couple of rounds did not go so well.
Fight back! Fight back!
3 hours later.
He starts with his Asia Slash, so Delta Haxorus gets in there and Swords Dance up, washing it out with the Aqua Tail. We rinse and repeat with Lucario until his Salamence comes out. We land a quick Drago Jet, but then Salamence counters with the Outrage. But since it's stuck on Outrage, we throw in our Delta Chandelure and come out with the Moonblast, defeating it. He sends out his Goodra to try and Sludge Bomb our little Delta Chandelure by switch out into Delta Haxorus, just for it to be one-shotted by Fire Blast. Great. Then Delta Gardevoir comes in just to meet the same fate. So it's back to Delta Chandelure with Moonblast. And then he brings out the big guns. Mega Rayquaza descends once more. I use Delta Chandelure and Delta Snorlax to take the Dragon Ascent hits. So like last time, Mega Eevee can come in and beat it with a foul play. And then his final Pokemon, Arcanine, gets washed out by Hydro Pump. marking the end of the Sky Cult's leader. Before leaving, he warns us that the leader of the Giratina cultists is very powerful and doubts our ability to beat her. He's just a hater. We move on and meet another Giratina cultist who says their leader is in the distortion realm and wants to meet her halfway by using hyperspace hole. While we're traveling through dimensions, we go through different locations, some of which are very familiar in the Pokemon world, until we reach the throne of the Hegemon. We finally meet their leader, who explains that they were behind everything that has happened. They wanted to force the Timeless to use Arceus' crystal, which they did via Adam, the first Augur, but their plans were kind of messed up because of Jayan and Persephone's interference, so they just simply readjusted. She explains that they're essentially the humans of the distortion realm and believe that Giratina is the rightful ruler of the universe. And with the power of the crystal, they want to take over our universe. Stakes universally high, Nyx, the Forgotten One, challenges us to a battle. Before we start the battle, she mentions that this will have an inversion twist to it. So now the type matchups are inverted, which definitely took me by surprise since her first Pokemon was able to take out half my team, but then she reveals her Mega Kangaskhan, and it shows why it was banned in OU in Generation 6. After some team planning, readjusting, and a lot of crying, it's time to fight for the fates of two universes. Nyx starts off with an Aurorus that gets frozen thanks to Delta Garvard's Ice Beam. She brings out the big guns, Mega Kangaskhan, and I use Flygon to take the hit, and then Mew comes in for a Super Fang attack until it too is defeated. Mega Eevee comes out with a foul play to defeat it, then drowns Pralume with the Hydro Pump. Greninja swiftly takes out Eevee with the Ice Beam, but is completely walled by Delta Snorlax, allowing us to belly drum up and punish it with a Seed Bomb. Her final Pokemon is a Garchomp that comes and earthquakes our Delta Snorlax, but gives us an opening for Delta Garvard to come in, spam Thunderbolt, and takes care of the rest of Nyx's team. With that, Nyx and her group are sent right back to the Distortion Realm, but while we were battling, Giratina used the power of the crystal to summon itself, and not only was it ready to fight, it was fighting in its primal form, with the ability Omni-type, letting it become every Pokemon type. I know this will be my most challenging battle yet, and I refuse to do it, so I send out a Master Ball and call it a day. With that, we return the crystal pieces to the Timeless and head back to Torrent to face the Elite Four and the champion. And if you made it this far, awesome for you. Comment down below that you made it this far and tell me what your favorite part's been, because it's time to face the first Elite Four member, Kayla, who was absolutely hell to battle. Her whole stupid team consists of just boosting up, baton passing it to other team members who would also boost up, then baton pass it to one more Pokemon, making it an unstoppable, unkillable monster that always swept me, and it took me about 15 plus tries to do this.
今まで俺の口から出た言葉は全て嘘だったんじゃないかと思えるくらい腹の底から出た本音ぶっ殺してやる。
While I was getting absolutely destroyed, I noticed one big weakness in her strategy. She leads off with a Moody Smeargle that gets one stat raised, one stat lowered, and we just need the right stat lowered. Gotcha, bitch. Now its defenses are lowered, which will pass those stats on to whatever teammate she baton passes into, and our pissed off max attack Snorlax can come in with a Seed Bomb and destroy her whole strategy, beating her whole team. It was so bad that her Slowbro didn't even have a chance to Mega Evolve. Next is the Desert Cowboy from the West, Edward. He starts with a Powdon, which gives us the chance to Belly Drum and knock it out with Seed Bomb. Next is his Mega Cacturn, who foolishly nasty plots even though there's a max attack Delta Snorlax staring him down. so naturally we Drain Punched it for wasting its 1 turn of life. Next is his Delta Hydra Gun that comes in and one-shot Snorlax with a Tri-Attack due to its ability Intoxicate, turning normal type attacks into poison and giving them a 30% boost. Mew comes out to handle it with Psychic and Aegislash Melt from Delta Chandeler's Flamethrower. Mega Eevee brings down his Mighty Garchomp with a Moonblast, and finally Delta Haxorus ends this with the Aqua Jet on Excadrill. The next Elite Four member is Yuki, who starts off with a Mamoswine that Delta Snorlax easily handles, then is beaten out by her Starmie Psyshock. Mega Eevee comes out and with an array of forms and moves, it beats out her Starmie, Delta Trevenant, and leaves Rotom with some heavy damage. And since it was stuck on Blizzard thanks to Choice Spec, Delta Haxorus came in, put up a Swords Dance, and bullet punched it out. Her Mega Cryogonal was able to freeze both Mew and Giratina, but they do enough damage where Delta Haxorus can come in and finish both Mega Cryogonal and Delta Scissor with some bullet punches. The final Elite Four member was London, who just like the first one was very annoying. It's his Reuniclus, but it's not your average Reuniclus. This thing can Mega Evolve and has the ability Speed Swamp, immediately setting up Trick Room, making it a fast, bulky sweeper start. And even if I was able to get rid of it, it still has Trick Room up, which the rest of his team uses to their advantage. And after a lot of retries, I start off with Mew against Mega Reuniclus, then I Super Fang to half health where Mega Eevee comes in to foul play it out, just for his Delta Goler to come in and absolutely destroy Mega Eevee and Delta Snorlax with close combat. Delta Haxorus was able to come in with the quick little Aqua Jet until his thick club wielding Marowak earthquakes Delta Haxorus out, but luckily Delta Chandler can come in to use Moonblast and beat it. Delta Aggron is next, but it gets completely walled by our Giratina, and I use this opportunity to Calm Mind against it, to spam Aura Sphere on Aggron and Shadow Ball on Togekiss and that stupid Jellicent. And with all the Elite Four members out, it's time to face the champion of the Tauren region. We head into the champion room, and to our surprise is Rukra, the leader of the Perfection Cult. He states that he's always been trying to find the perfect Pokemon via DNA modification, Mega Evolution, Pokemon Armor, and then realized that that Pokemon would get countered one way or another. So instead he goes for the perfect Pokemon team, and that he did create. He had some major firepower in the form of Kyurem Black, Armored Delta Volcarona that's a poison and dark type that I found out the hard way that it had Levitate, and this absolute monster Shadow Mewtwo. He was truly the combination of everything difficult and annoying we faced so far, but all this helped to make my perfect strategy to counter his perfect Pokemon team. The champion leads with an armored Tyranitar against our Delta Haxorus. He sets up a Dragon's Dance and we set up a Swords Dance. He uses Crunch that we barely survived, and we return with the Aqua Tail, breaking through that armor and washing Tyranitar out. Kyurem Black comes out and we launch a Bullet Punch, bringing it super low, but it attacks back with Ice Beam. Luckily it faints due to its Life Orb item. We send out Mega Eevee against the big bad Shadow Mewtwo, which is a Dark and Psychic type. We use Foul Play to switch it to Umbreon form so that we aren't affected by Psyshock. Then tank a Focus Blast in Sylveon form to knock it out with a Moonblast. His own Delta Haxorus comes out only to get fried by our Thunderbolt. He brings in his Mega Flygon, but it too is powerless against another Moonblast. His final Pokemon is Armored Delta Volcarona. Mega Eevee lands a Hydro Pump, then zaps it with Thunderbolt, but it gets knocked out by a Dark Pulse. Delta Chandler comes out and outspeeds Delta Volcarona thanks to Choice Scarf, ending this all with a Moonblast that crits for good measure. With that, the champions defeated. Professor Sylvan comes out to congratulate us and then apologizes to Rukra for not being able to help him more before he lost his way due to his pursuit for perfection. We head to the back to register our Pokemon, and just like that, we beat Pokemon Insurgence. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, share it out, and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot and I would really appreciate it. Let's see if we can hit 20 likes for beating this classic fan game on one of its hardest modes. And also check out my experience playing Pokemon Scarlet as the best gym leader in Paldea by clicking this video right here. You won't regret it. And with that, this is Star Gaming's and I will see you in the next adventure.